Hello everyone, welcome back to all of you in the Smelly Army. So today we're going to be having a look at my top 10 complemented fragrances. Before we get into that, as I've mentioned before, we do have to now try and generate some income from this channel, and therefore I'm going to be right back after this message from our sponsors.
Today's your brute day.
Today you've got a running start. You're a man who feels the part.
It's your lucky brute day today.
All the signs look good today and everything seems to go your way.
Today's your brute day.
You can feel your luck running hot.
Today's your brute day.
With Brute you'll give it your best shot.
Today's your brute day. It's your lucky brute day.
Make every day your Brute day with Brute by Fabergé.
Today.
Hello, yes, welcome back folks. So today we're going to be looking at my top 10 complemented fragrances, a controversial subject. Of course, not everyone likes videos about compliments, and understandably a lot of people who are really passionate about the art of fragrances think it's rather trivial and silly just to make lists about which ones got you the most compliments. And I guess perhaps it's Jeremy Fragrance is a big pioneer of the philosophy that the largest reason for wearing fragrances is to make you more attractive to women if you're a man. And I can understand that, of course, as someone, I love the art of fragrances, the history. It's not all about that. However, I'm going to make a very honest video about the ones that have got me compliments. In defense of this concept of compliments for fragrances, if you look back at old, recently I've featured some high karate adverts from the UK in the 70s. Way back then, people were selling fragrances for men based on the idea that it would make women attracted to you, and I guess essentially the compliments thing is related to that. If you get a compliment, it's someone thought you smelled nice, you made yourself appealing to other people. Of course, by the way, if you're not heterosexual, we're talking about fragrances that make you attractive to other people in general, whoever you would like to be attractive to. We're talking about men's fragrances today because that's what my channel is mostly about. And it's a very honest list because I deliberately am calling it top 10 complimented, not most complimented, because that would imply I've got some kind of league table and the top one got me 20 compliments and the next one only got 15. Well, in most cases they've just got 1 or 2 compliments, but I'm going to try and be specific. Who complimented me, where I was, what was going on, and yeah, I've got a weird, quirky list because they're not the obvious, what you would necessarily think are the most crowd-pleasing scents in the world, but it's a real, truthful, honest list, and I'll give you who said I was smelling good. I'm going to give you that kind of information if I can. So I'm going to do it in random order. I think it's ended up being a top 11, so let's dive in. First one then actually was, the first one I'm going to mention, LALIQUE pour Homme, the Eau de Parfum. So really, really nice fragrance. It's kind of similar, but not identical, but similar to Bois de Portugal by Creed, one of my favourites. It's got a lot of lavender in there, certain greenness in the opening, and a sort of dusty, woody feel, a bit of spicy herbaceousness in there, and with this one a little bit of a vanillic sweetness, which is probably more apparent than in Creed's Bois de Portugal. Kind of an old school masculine fragrance, but very, very likeable, very classy, and a very good price on this one. Now this one I got a compliment in a shop. It was a really big compliment. It was actually a charity shop where I was looking at the books or something, and a lady walked past and then came back and walked past again. The lady who worked there, and she said, "Oh, I've just walked past again only because I wanted to smell your aftershave because it's so nice." And that was a really big, very unsolicited compliment. By the way, all the ones in this list are going to be pretty much unsolicited, so they're not from friends who know I'm mad about fragrances, because I don't count those as proper compliments because they're tuned in to say, "Oh, that's a nice one you're wearing today," because they know I'm the fragrance guy. So that's the first one, LALIQUE pour Homme. Before we get into the rest of the list, by the way, thank you to Miguel Matos of Fragrantica for reviewing my upcoming release, Gravitas pour Homme. I'll put the link in the description. So flattered that the great writer Miguel Matos has reviewed it, because we sent him a sample and a very, very positive review of the fragrance and some great descriptions of what he gets out of it. So check that out if you haven't already come across it. Moving on then to my next complimented fragrance. This one actually got me a lot over the years, and this is Chanel's ALLURE Sport. Before I really became a frag head, before I knew about fragrances on YouTube or online, since 2004 right up to about 2014, I used to really wear this pretty much as my signature scent, ALLURE Sport from Chanel. An aquatic, sort of citrusy, ozonic, very fresh, very likeable. Perhaps some people in the fragrance community would say bland fragrance, but I liked the very, very likeable freshness, it's still Chanel, so there's a certain classiness, maybe some aldehyde fizziness in there. Really, really nice. One of the best sports fragrances out there. And when I wore this all the time, a lot of times people said, wow, you smell great. Not maybe massive in projection, but when they came in for a kiss or whatever, one or two girls that I was dating here and there really said, oh, you always smell good, I love that. And it was a real go-to for me. Very, very crowd pleasing. Still a great fragrance today. Maybe not if you're desperate for something complex and or inspiring or whatever, but if you just want to smell nice, I think it's still a really good bet. So Chanel Allure Homme Sport was the second one on the list. Don't forget, if you'd like to join the Smelly Army private members club over on Patreon, there's a link in the description to do that. It costs just $2 a month and you get an extra video from me every week, plus you get to watch everything I've already uploaded in there. We're building a really nice community, lots of interaction, and I'd love to see you in there. Moving forward then, let's see what we're going to mention next. It's going to be a clone, and this is Ragbar for Man by Ragbar, and this is basically a clone of Green Irish Tweed. It lacks some of the brilliant green lemony verbena grassiness in the opening, but it has this very, very nice crisp kind of violet leaf, sandalwood, dihydromercenol ingredient dry down, very recognisable as a better version of Cool Water, which is what Green Irish Tweed essentially is. And although it's only maybe 85-90% there, it's a really good rendition for an insanely cheap price. And I got a really big compliment from this one in Greg's, the bakery in the UK once, where the lady said, oh wow, you smell great. Now it was soon after I'd sprayed, but it was a really big compliment, and she didn't know me from Adam, and I took it to be very genuine compliment. So really nice, likeable daily sprayer, and I really liked the compliment. And then she found out that I was into fragrances, and we kind of became slightly acquainted as friends as I would order my coffee and egg mayo sandwich, or if I was feeling indulgent, maybe a steak slice. Ragbar for Man, really, really great for the price, great daily wearer, very similar to Green Irish Tweed. So that was that one. Next up then, we're going to go back in time, because I got a really big, some people would call it a negative compliment, but that's not a compliment. But I got a comment on this one, so it doesn't really qualify for the list, but what the heck. Fahrenheit Eau de Toilette. This was way back in the early 2000s I wore this. I'd been gifted it actually, and because it wasn't exactly the kind of fragrance I'd normally pick, but it's this fiery petroleum accord, very masculine, bit of leather in there. Very, very nice violet leaf note as well. Very famous fragrance, and great performance in the vintage version, which mine would have been. And I was on a night out with a few chums then. I would have been in my early 20s, so it's a long time ago. And we got in the car and we were driving to go out. And the guy next to me, a good friend, said, oh, we won't need to drink any alcohol tonight because we're all going to get drunk on the fumes from Dan's aftershave. So it was clearly a strong projector, and did have that pungent in-your-face smell. So it's not really a compliment, but it gets you noticed, Fahrenheit. So bear that in mind if you like strong performing scents. I'm not sure if today's is quite as strong, but what the heck. Moving forward to the next selection then, something that's completely different is Colonia Essenza from ACQUA de Parma, one of my real favourites. A beautiful citrus aromatic fragrance with neroli, grapefruit, tangerine. There's also quite a lot of depth in this one. It's quite soapy, but it's also got patchouli in there. There are some kind of herbal notes in the middle. It's just really beautiful, kind of better version of Neroli Portofino by Tom Ford with a bit more going on. Very, very nice, classy. If I had to have one signature scent, it may be this. And this got me a real big compliment once from a girl that I was talking to years ago before I started the channel, and I think she just leaned across to kiss or something. Nothing, naughty going on, but just an affectionate thing. And she said, wow, you smell really nice. And this was several hours into the wearing, and it's just and it was a nice compliment to get. It was a very genuine one, and again, she was not aware that I was starting at that point to collect fragrances. It was really unsolicited. And I thought, good, because I'd only just bought it a couple of days before, so I thought, good choice, me. And it still is a great choice. So, Colonia Essenza ACQUA de Parma. Next, I'm going to go for one other clone. This is from the house of DIOR Fragrances. SUPERNOVA got me a big compliment from a bloke in the supermarket who was serving me. He said, oh, you always wear really nice aftershave. And I actually had been wearing all kinds of different things, but on the day he said it, I was wearing this. It's a copy, of course, of Roger Parfum's Elysium. I think it's a mixture of the Cologne Parfum and the Parfum. Anyway, it's beautifully fresh, sharp, a bit like Roger's version of Aventus, kind of piercing, grapefruity citrusness, some nice masculine woods in the base. Very, very pleasant, very crowd pleasing, and this one does have really good performance. Most of these at least good, if not very good, in performance, although Allure on Sport only kind of average. But anyway, good performance helps, of course, to get compliments, because if no one can smell you, you ain't going to get any. So great stuff. Do get compliments because they perform well. The next one in the list then, jumping around in time, Armani Eau pour Homme from 1984. I was alive then, but I wasn't wearing it and I wasn't getting compliments on my fragrance. But when I did wear this, these are rather mundane situations, which perhaps tells you something about my social life, but never mind. I was at the chemist picking up, I don't know if it was a prescription or what I was picking up. Anyway, I got a really massive compliment from this, and she said, "Oh, you'll be fighting the ladies off if you always wear that aftershave," or something like that. A really kind of big, specific compliment that I would be popular with women if I carried on smelling like this. And I thought, wow. Again, I'd sprayed it recently. It's a beautiful citrus aromatics fragrance. Lovely, lovely natural kind of lemony bergamot cologne opening. There's patchouli in here. I think there's some vetiver. There are some sort of clovey, spicy notes as well. Very, very classy, elegant fragrance. And it got me a massive unsolicited compliment. Again, from somebody who did not know who I was or that I was into fragrances. I think my list might end up having 11 because I'm just going to throw in one that's not totally unsolicited compliment. And that's for Spice and Wood by Creed from Claire from the Smurfygurly channel. It was, I think, probably the fragrance that she liked me wearing the most, and still does. We're just friends now, but she's even borrowed it to feature in a recent video about sexiest winter fragrances, one for a man, one for a woman, and she's got loads of female reviewers to give their opinion. So I'll put the link to that because it's a really good video from female reviewers giving their top female and male fragrances. But anyway, Claire loves Spice and Wood on me and did compliment their fragrance, although it's not unsolicited because we only knew each other because we were both obsessed with fragrances. So that is a great one in terms of its popularity from what I can see amongst women and people in general. Now then, next we've got two Diors next, so I'm going to get this one out of the way. I'm afraid I have to admit that once when I wore Sauvage, which I very rarely do, I got a really big compliment. I was teaching guitar in a school, and one of the teaching assistants walked past and said, "Oh, I like your aftershave," and she was quite a way away, so it leaves a huge trail. It's very fresh and modern masculine fragrance. I don't find it particularly amazing. I don't love the smell. It's a bit sort of synthetic-y shower gel, but it will work if you want compliments. To me, kind of everyone smelled it, and it's a bit too commonplace, but it will do the trick if you just want to be complimented by members of what's the word, civilians, non-fragrance aficionados. We do like that one. Okay, we've got two left. This one actually was just this week. Someone tried to steal my compliment. Colonia Intensa. Colonia Intensa Acqua di Parma. I only have a decant, 50ml decant. And this is a lovely, kind of citrusy, spicy fragrance. I think the really unique note that stands out most is ginger, along with the usual sort of Acqua di Parma citrus, but it's got a bit more spiciness and a bit more woodiness, a warming feel, as well as being a little bit fresh. Really, really good fragrance, really good performance for me. And the lady in the coffee shop complimented the lady in front of me and said, "Oh, I love your perfume, what are you wearing? It's really nice." Or, "I love your perfume, it smells really nice." And the lady says, "Well, no, I don't think it's me, it must be someone else," because she obviously wasn't wearing anything. I think it must have been for me. I must have been the one who smelled good, but I said nothing, and that was the end of it. But I believe that compliment should have been mine. Colonia Intensa. Finally then, we have Dior Eau Sauvage PARFUM. 3 notes only, bergamot, vetiver and myrrh. Got a huge compliment from another man once on this. Well, not huge. I don't get that many, so I have to cling on to all of them. Somebody once said hi to me in the pub and said, "Oh man, you smell good." And of course, for a man to compliment another man, not everyone, people don't feel comfortable doing that always. It's not very manly or whatever. So he must have really been hit by the smell, and he wasn't the type of person who I would think is a real compliment giver or like that. So he obviously was struck by this one. Very masculine, classy, just beautiful, kind of resinous myrrh, a certain greenness, and a lovely kind of warming, woody, masculine vetiver note. Really superb. It's a 2012 formula that you very sadly can't buy anymore, but it got me a good compliment. It's a good performer. So those are my my top 10 or 11 complimented fragrances that have got me compliments all over the place in what they are. Of course, wear fragrance for yourself, enjoy the art of fragrance, don't worry about it. You're more likely to get a compliment if you smile, if you're nice, and an outgoing person, which probably explains why I don't get as many as some people out there. Also depends a lot what country you're in. I think British people are a bit reserved. Maybe if you're in the States, people, it's more kind of a cool thing to be nice and positive and expressive about stuff. I think it's more in the culture there, probably similar in parts of Europe too, but we Northern European, English and maybe German and Swedish and Dutch people, I don't know if we always go around giving compliments out as freely as other cultures do. Let me know what you think about all of that, how important you think compliments are. Of course, I did the video partly to get a few clicks because it's maybe a popular topic, but I actually kind of thought it was interesting to me, and I try and make videos that I find genuinely interesting and worth talking about. So I don't know, today I just felt like talking about compliments. Thanks ever so much for joining me. Remember guys, whatever you're doing in life, let's project. I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.
It's